Bouldering is a form of rock climbing. It is a competitive or recreational sport. Performed on walls of 5 meters or less with large amount of areas beneath, it is done in either indoor gyms or outside on rock faces. Bouldering is an anaerobic sport using very high intensity activity over short climbing routes which focuses on technique and power. The energy continuum is the interchange between the three energy systems using during exercise, and showcases that these energy systems never work in isolation and are rather working at different percentages at different times based on energy requirements. This graph allows us to visualize their contributions and impact on overall performance surrounding bouldering. The predominant source of energy in bouldering comes from the lactic acid system or ATP-PC system that uses ATP, which is pre-stored in the muscles and has a very limited source of fuel, phosphocreatine or PC, and has no waste products. This system lasts around 8 to 12 seconds of extremely high intensity activity, around 90 to 100% maximum heart rate, which gives us the best performance, and recovers fully in 2 minutes with half recovery reached in just 30 seconds. When ATP is broken down into ADP, adenosine diphosphate, the PC and ATP react to create another adenosine triphosphate or ATP and C, creatine. In the 8 to 12 seconds, the lactic acid system's contribution is extreme, being the main contributor in bouldering due to the high intensity actions such as an explosive dyno propelling the climber upwards, which takes great energy use. In longer routes of rapid succession climbs, the lactic acid system is utilized. The threshold for the system begins at approximately 10 seconds into very high intensity bouldering. As stores within the lactic acid system are depleted, the lactic acid system becomes a predominant contributor in ATP production at an intensity of 80 to 90% maximum heart rate, which falls behind the lactic acid system in amount of energy. The source of fuel is carbohydrates or glucose and produces 2 ATP for each glucose molecule, which produces lactic acid or 2-lactate in the process, which builds up in the muscles leading to a pump in the forearms, often felt in climbing. Recovery of the system takes 30 to 60 minutes. During a boulder, the lactic acid system will begin its contribution in energy production at 10 seconds and will be the main contributor from 30 seconds to 3 minutes. The aerobic system, although its application to bouldering is limited, is not insurmountable. The aerobic system uses carbohydrates, fats, and proteins as its fuel source respectively. Waste products include carbon dioxide and water. This reaction creates 38 ATP per glucose molecule. This system requires oxygen, unlike the lactic acid and lactic acid system. This system in bouldering is all about recovery aspect, and around 60 to 75% maximum heart rate, whether on the wall or between ascents, it fuels energy requirements while the anaerobic systems are in recovery. Although this is important, the contribution while on the wall is minuscule as the aerobic systems dominate the energy production. As bouldering is a high-intensity anaerobic exercise, performance benefits can be achieved through anaerobic training due to its relevance. Anaerobic training develops the lactic acid and lactic acid energy systems, which develop power and strength and speed. By improving the efficiency at which the body removes lactate from the muscles, it improves the energy replenishment on and off the wall. Anaerobic training inadvertently improves power and strength, which are both relevant to bouldering, such as the power needed to push an athlete up the wall or across in a dyno move. In conjunction with this, anaerobic training will accelerate the anaerobic glycolysis, which increases ATP production. This reinforces the benefits of anaerobic training through the improvement of the energy supply. Anaerobic interval training is a method of training that uses changes in intensity within the session to improve performance, and depending on format can develop either the lactic acid system or a lactic acid system. Anaerobic interval training can be applied to bouldering to increase performance within the lactic acid system, focusing on the first 8 to 12 seconds of intense activity at 90 to 100% maximum heart rate. Anaerobic interval training session utilizing the canvas board is specific to bouldering. For example, an athlete would make explosive movements up the canvas board, developing their power. A total of 10 moves, 5 up and 5 down, would be completed in 10 seconds. Following this will be a 2-minute rest period before repeating till failure. This training session will be completed weekly for improvements. Bouldering is a sport that requires flexibility to increase performance and utilize various techniques. Flexibility assists in improving the performance significantly. Flexibility training increases the joint's range of motion and can fall into passive or active ROM, with active increasing performance and passive improves its active counterpart. Flexibility training also has the added benefit of reducing the risk of injuries in bouldering by increasing the ROM. Flexibility is useful in bouldering in situations requiring a higher ROM, such as using a heel hook to assist an ascent on a ledge or hold. This increases ROM, increases performance capabilities in climbing, as well as reducing risk of injury. Dynamic stretching is a form of flexibility training that follows the joint ROM before bouldering, as well as increasing this ROM. Dynamic stretching is one continuous movement for each stretch, such as ankle or wrist circles. Dynamic stretching is well suited to bouldering as it expands the range of motion within the athlete's joints, expanding their potential in climbing as it improves the body's ability to adapt to the wall, as well as reducing risk of injury. A dynamic stretching session in a warm-up for bouldering or training regimen has various performance benefits through the increased ROM, which expands possible moves and the compounding of these. A dynamic stretching warm-up for bouldering would use circular movements for each major joint. This falls under active stretching. This would expand the ROM and warm the joints, therefore increasing performance capabilities. Another method of flexibility training, static stretching, has key benefits to performance when used with dynamic stretching. Static stretching involves the stretching of a muscle to lengths that are uncomfortable but not painful. This form of stretching is relevant to bouldering due to the possibility of static movements requiring the holding of uncomfortable positions to reach holds. Static stretching should not be incorporated within a warm-up. Static stretching should be incorporated into specific flexibility training sessions and/or during a cool-down. This increases the amount of stress able to be placed in these uncomfortable positions and increases the capabilities of athletes' flexibility in the long run.